Again, welcome to Mr. Rowley's virtual music classroom. This will be the first lesson in a series of lessons about songwriting. But let me tell you, there are many different kinds of lessons that I have in my music classroom. There's some lessons on basic music theory. There will be some lessons on music history. These lessons were intended for my students at Inchelium School, my secondary students especially, who normally are in performance classes, but because that's pretty impossible right now due to our school shutdown because of the coronavirus, I've created these lessons for them to have activities to do that they can do at home when they don't have their instruments. I want to let everybody know that even though these were intended for my students, they are intended for anybody. And again, this will be the first lesson in songwriting. You may need some background, or you will need some basic background of some basic music theory, how to read rhythms and write them as well, although we'll be writing them in the first lesson. Understanding pitch and being able to put notes to pitches, and then eventually, fairly soon, you'll need to have a basic understanding of what chords are. That being said, if you don't have that basic knowledge, you can refer to the music theory lessons that are also on this channel to help you with some of that information. I am doing these lessons at the same time, so for instance, right now there are 2 music theory lessons up. This will be the first songwriting lesson, and so I will be doing other music theory lessons as well. In fact, the 3rd music theory lessons will be about reading rhythms. There is some in lesson 2 of music theory about pitch and notation and things like that. So that's just some background information of what we're going to be doing with these videos. So again, this is an introduction to what the songwriting lessons will be like, and I'll get back to you in just a minute. All right, as we begin our journey in songwriting, there is 2 different ways we can go. The way most people write songs is kind of 2 avenues. You have the avenue where people write the words first, and then you have the avenue where they write music first. There's one other, but we'll talk about that one when I create my lessons on just composition. Songwriting is a form of music composition. You all understand that. But songs have text, or they have words. This first lesson will be from the standpoint of writing words first and then putting music to those words. That is my normal avenue that I write songs to. I've written them the other way, but I tend to be a poet first and then adding music to it. Now, I'm a musician. That's what I am. I've been a music teacher for 29 years, for those of you who don't know. I've been a songwriter for 37 years. I wrote my first song when I was a senior in high school. So as we make this journey, I'll be talking about the different ways that songs can be written, and eventually they'll meld because there's a point where they're basically the same. As we start this journey of songwriting, using words first, meaning that we've already either written the words or we're using someone else's words, whether it be a poem that someone has written or a song that someone has written and has an idea of what they want it to sound like. But I've written a song that we can follow from the beginning stages all the way through completion that I'll be using for the first few lessons in this songwriting journey. You'll be able to see the final version of this song on another video that's in my classroom that is under my what I call my little kid videos, my sing-along videos. For my 2nd and 3rd grade students, I have written a new song that they would have been singing at their spring concert this year. And so I'm going to read the words to this song, and you'll see these words on the screen as we go forward. And then we're going to start talking about how I set those words to music and how you can possibly do it too. And we're only going to use the first few lines of the song for this particular lesson. But I'm going to go ahead and read the words to this song for you now. It's spring in the valley. Snow and ice melt away. Rivers and streams run high and mighty. A winter world comes awake. The white of the snow the gray of the clouds and trees, the long black nights of winter, these are the colors that we see. Now the sun shines brighter, the sky seems more blue. Trees, plants, and grass turn green. Mother Nature's colors are about to renew. Then the meadows come alive with a colorful tapestry. Greens, yellows, purple, blues, and reds. These are the colors that we see. From mountain slopes to alpine meadows, the river banks and valleys below, golden buttercups, white glacier lilies, blue and purple lupine, and soft white yarrow. Red currant and columbine, snow white trillium, purple camas and blue forget-me-nots, tiger lilies, daisies, and mums. When the rain starts to fall, the warm sunshine and rivers rush. The wildflowers of early spring are Mother Nature's paintbrush. The wildflowers of early spring are Mother Nature's paintbrush. Now, understand that as we progress through the songwriting process, some of those words more than likely will change. I'm the creator of those words, so I can change them. Now, if you're setting someone else's work to music, you may not have that opportunity. You may have to use the exact words. It's especially true if you are setting a already published poem. Even if it is public domain, meaning it's been written a long, long time ago and you're allowed to use it without copyright infringement. But you need to keep the integrity of the original artist's work there. So you can't change the words. You shouldn't change the words. If it's someone you're working with and collaborating with where they're writing the text and you're writing the music, then of course you can work with your collaborator and say, hey, can we change this word here to make it fit the rhythm better or things like that. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to take these words and we're going to start setting them to music. And the first step is to set the words to rhythm. So in trying to find the rhythm of words in a poem, they're intrinsically already there. Poems, when read correctly or read and interpreted by somebody, have a rhythm to them automatically. We just need to figure out what that rhythm is and then figure out how to write that rhythm down. So let's take the first line of the song. It's spring in the valley. Okay? That has a rhythm to itself. And the rhythms come from strong and weak words, just like strong and weak beats. So if I tap out a tempo, it's spring in the valley. Now, we can interpret it different ways. It's spring in the valley. That's another interpretation. That's not the interpretation that makes me feel good, or not good, but it doesn't have the feeling that I want it to have. I like a little syncopation, and so this starts, the first word is not a strong beat, it's a weak beat. And for me, it's because the two most important words in this line are spring and valley. So I want to emphasize those, and so they end up being either on a strong beat or very close to a strong beat, or they're held out for a long time. So let's try that again. It's spring in the valley. Okay? Now, if we go back to our rhythm lesson, I speak rhythms in two ways. When I first started teaching, I used the Ed Sueda method for teaching band. And in the Ed Sueda method, he didn't use the numbers that I had learned when I was a young kid. But I really liked what it did, especially for wind players. And we don't need to go into that, but my students, for the most part, know how to read or sing rhythms using the Ed Sueda method. And in a very short nutshell, a quarter note, we use the vocalization to. Eighth notes, we use ta. Half notes, to, woo. Whole notes, to, woo, woo, woo. So on and so forth. There's going to be dotted notes as well. That's when we say add a dot to a half note. We make it a half note goes from 2 counts to 3 counts if we add a dot. A quarter note goes from one count to a count and a half. So when you add the dot, it adds another woo, even if it's a short one. So that's one way. So it's spring in the valley, okay? If we're using numbers, and 1, 2, 3, and 1 and, okay? That's just an idea of what I'm doing. All right, so I take each line and I do that with it. So I've written the words out using finale, and I've put the lyrics in, and I've put the rhythm that I just clapped out in. And this is kind of what it looks like. It's spring in the valley. So that shows you a little bit of what it looks like for that first line. Let's go on to the next line. The next line, snow and ice melt away. Using vocalization, tu-ta-tu-ta-tu. Using numbers, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. Snow and ice melt away. All right, let's continue and finish out this stanza of the song. Remember, this is just the first 4 lines of the song that we're going to work on during this lesson. Obviously, I will go through and do the exact same things I'm doing right now with all the rest of the text that I have for this song. So the next line, rivers and streams run high and mighty. Yeah, again, let's give us our tempo. Rivers and streams run high and mighty. Let's try it with vocalization. Ta-ta, ta-tu, ta-tu, ta-ta-ta, ta. Let's try it with numbers. 1 and 3, and 1 and 3 and 4. And now, this is what it looks like. Rivers and streams run high and mighty. And now the last line. A winter's world comes awake. With vocalization. And 2, 2, 2, ta, ta, 2, woo, woo. With numbers. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. And now what the final line looks like. A winter world comes awake. And now I will add rhythms just like we just did for the first stanza for the rest of the words in the song. At this point, the rhythms that we've written right now together look like this. It's spring in the valley, snow and ice melt away. Rivers and streams run high and mighty, a winter world comes awake. And now, the next step will be to take these rhythms and add pitches to them. And that will be in the next lesson. We will then add pitches to these rhythms, which will then create our melody. And that's the next step. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've learned a little bit of something. If you've got some words that you've already written for songs, start doing what we just did. Again, I want you to refer back to, if you're struggling with rhythms, refer back to Lesson 3 in the Music Theory series, and that will be talking about how we read and write rhythms. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on your first step in learning how to write a song. Again, like I said at the beginning, there are different ways to write songs. There's no right or wrong answer. This is just my process when I start with words. So, I hope you've learned something, hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to helping you on this songwriting journey with future lessons. Thanks for listening and watching. Again, thanks for watching one of my videos from my channel. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.